Today's education news, and to absolutely no one's surprise, teacher wellbeing hits a 5-year low. It's the annual Teacher Wellbeing Index report from the Education Support Partnership, a charity that looks at supporting the mental health and wellbeing of school staff. It has been published and it does not make for pretty reading. Pretty much everything has increased, as far as 78% of all education staff feeling stressed, which is a 3% increase on last year. 89% of senior leaders, and that moves up to 95% of head teachers feeling stressed. 78% of school teachers are stressed. And just at the bottom here, 36% of school teachers are reporting experiencing burnout, which is a 9% increase on last year. Whilst everyone's giving, Nick Gibb the plaudits for the job he's done over the past 10 years, these sort of statistics really show that they've not valued education staff at all. Given everything that's happened as well, they also included questions about educators' experience of inspections, where 73% said that inspections were not fit for purpose. I'm surprised it's that low. I thought it'd be higher. 64% saying the judgments didn't reflect the school. At the same time, this news article came out which shows that teachers' homeworking hours is masking the true workload challenge. This is the findings of a House of Commons Education Committee. God knows how much money that's cost to put together. And I'll go through some of the things they've pulled out, which will be a surprise to no one. I just wish they'd just cut all this rubbish out and just do what is the most obvious thing, which is speak to staff, speak to school staff. Because if they did that directly, they'd soon realise how bad and drastic the picture actually is. So the first point made is just about how much work is expected of teachers outside of the sort of contracted hours, and because so many teachers do so much work at home, it's very hard to pin down the actual amount of hours teachers do each week. And yeah, that's been an issue for a number of years. It's got worse and worse, and I think what's frustrating for a lot of teachers is so much of what's expected of them has no impact on teaching and learning, because we work in this obsession with the accountability, driven by fear, thanks to the likes of Ofsted. So much of the time we spend isn't on benefiting the children or the teaching and learning. It's more about us proving that we're doing the job the vast majority of us are capable of doing. This I find interesting. So most leaders shun the workload toolkit. So the DfE published a work reduction toolkit, and not many teachers take it into account. Like I've not read it. Why would I take any advice from a department for education that has just gaslighted and just ruined the profession? It's a ridiculous thing to be surprised at, really. It's like when the DfE tried to sponsor the podcast, and what it does to big up teaching and try and get more people into the profession. And I was going, you want me to promote the DfE, which is the reason that so many teachers are leaving the profession? Like, oh yeah, come and join teaching and let these absolute charlatans ruin your life. Then goes on to talk about sort of flexible working. Obviously, off the back of the pandemic, so many jobs now have that option, that hybrid approach to work. But that can't really happen in education when it's not funded effectively. And if you're not going to fund schools so that they can get more staff to make it more flexible, that's not going to be a possibility. And that's the main reason why I think we're really struggling to recruit teachers now. I'm not going to go through every reason because the video's already too long, but this I found interesting, that the system's sort of ringing the purpose out of teachers. Most teachers, all teachers, go into the profession to make a difference to children's lives, and the government have taken advantage of people's goodwill with that, and therefore underfunded it, and think, oh, these people will do anything for the kids. Remember, you're not in it for the income, you're in it for the outcome, and that's caused a lot of the problems, because if you're going to underfund schools, underpay staff, you're going to push more children into poverty. Teachers are going to feel like they're fighting a losing battle, and when you work in an education system that's constantly making you feel like you're a failure, that you're never good enough, that's going to impact your mental health negatively, and that's again a reason why so many teachers are leaving. And do I need to say any more about that? So laying out those sort of statistics there, what would you say is the number one thing that can change? If you're a teacher who's experiencing that sort of stress and burnout, or considering leaving the profession, if you had one wish to change education for the better, what would it be? Let me know in the comments. The government have put together a task force to tackle workload, and their goal is to try and reduce workload for every teacher by 5 hours. God knows how much money they're being paid to do that, but I've helped build a platform called TeachMate, which is already saving teachers over 10 hours a week. It's just, they are so deluded and out of touch with the reality of what's going on in our classrooms. And I know there are so many issues, not just the workload, the Ofsted. You know, you're not just a classroom teacher now, you're expected to be an expert in a subject. Most of us didn't study past GCSE, and to make sure that you are on top of that subject with all the progression and everything else, all that time being spent, which really doesn't really impact anything, it's just to tick a box for Ofsted, has to be done outside of your teaching working hours. There's things like that. You know, the behaviour management happening, or the struggles with behaviour in schools is, again, a massive issue. What would be the one thing you'd like to see change?